Now, Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.
And then we're going to talk about your new album and the band played on because it is it is terrific.
I love it. I love it. I love hearing it.
Uh, your last four albums to me are better than anything you've ever done. Somewhere in California, I just love them. I love them. Anyway, we are speaking with the one and only Kelly Keagy from Night Ranger. And of course, we've got Pete Johnson, president and executive director of Rock from the Heart. No, in fact, that's your wife. That's a president and executive. What's your title at the thing?
Vice.
Vice.
I'm the vice squad.
By the way, smart idea to make the wife president. I'm just saying. That's very, very smart.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. We are speaking with the one and only Kelly Keagy from the band Night Ranger. They will be at the Avalon Event Center in Fargo, North Dakota on February 12th, 2022. February. I know. You know, North Dakota in February is going to be terrific. But it is for a good cause. It is for Essentia Health presents Rock from the Heart featuring Night Ranger. And, of course, the vice president of Rock from the Heart, Pete Johnson, is also joining us to talk about this event. Let me just quickly throw it to Pete and just say, Pete, by the way, thank you for doing this kind of event. All three of us have had our own heart issues. I've had 2 surgeries. Kelly had one or had an incident a couple of years ago. But talk to me about this event and its importance and why Night Ranger. You keep bringing them back. I mean, fans love them, right?
What the
Absolutely. Everybody loves them. Even non-fans love them, I think.
I know.
That's what I hear.
They're the greatest. I love them.
Rock from the Heart. Well, that started because I had an open heart surgery, had a new valve put in, and I was a little scared. I didn't have good information out there. I got intel from all over the place that didn't match up. And, you know, when I was healing up, my wife and I thought, man, maybe there's something musically we can do, because I'm a musician too. I play drums in a couple bands, and maybe we can do something musically to, you know, try and get some information out there. People will just come to hear the music, but they'll know in the back of their head, hey, these guys are a source for heart info too.
Yeah.
So 2 months before my surgery, I heard Kelly just had a surgery. And then I saw he was playing in Fargo at the Rib Fest. So I drove down there because I wanted to watch Kelly play on his second gig after he got a new valve too. And sure enough, I call that the Kelly Keagy barometer. It was 2 months, I believe, after and I played 2 months after my surgery. So there was no other info out there about that. But anyway, we've had Night Ranger our first 2 years of Rock from the Heart. We do a yearly concert. The day before that, we have a symposium with survivors speaking and doctors speaking, mental health people speaking, because as we all three probably know, it can kind of mess with your head a little bit going through this. The healing process is different for everybody. I was pretty lucky. I sailed through, but I hear stories from people who aren't that fortunate. But we're sure happy to have Night Ranger back again. We're bringing Rock from the Heart to 2 cities this year, so we're going to Fargo with it.
That's going to be great.
Minneapolis, but Fargo's going to be first.
Kelly, talk to me a little bit about the importance of playing a charity event like this one and having one where they're giving information about the heart. Because when you went through your heart conditions, I mean, how much were you aware? How much did you know? And how much was just, I'm out in the dark and now I've got this thing to deal with?
You know, I mean, about 4 years out, they started hearing, you know, noises, and it was like beating funny. And it turned out it was backwashing. It wasn't sealed. The aortic valve is the valve that takes the blood out of the heart to the lungs. And they were hearing this weird sound. And so when they checked it, they realized that instead of having a tricuspid valve, it was a bicuspid valve from a defect from birth that I had. And it didn't give me any trouble. I was an athlete in high school. And then, of course, I got behind the drum set my whole career and sang and played. So, but about 3 years, I started to have a little shortness of breath in the beginning of the set.
Wow.
So then I started to try and ramp up my exercise before a set, get on an exercise bike or go for a short run and get my lungs and everything working, and I started to notice that I was getting this chest pains and funny, like a breathing, but then it would settle down about 10 minutes into a run or something. It would normalize.
Wow.
And it wasn't, I didn't get into like running full force. I was just jogging, and I wanted to do like I wanted to do a half hour, 45 minutes, but once they heard that noise, I was going for a colonoscopy, and they have to do these tests before you do that, check your heart and all that. And they said, we can't sign off on this. So I was like, okay, this is getting pretty serious. About 2 years. So once they actually did the test to check and see, how the heart is doing and what it actually was, that's when we found out that it was a bicuspid and not a tricuspid valve. And the Dr. Malik in Nashville said, you should definitely consider having this, replacement, because he used the word catastrophic. He said, I hate to have you on stage and have something catastrophic happen. And I was like, what do you mean? And he just said, that word means that you could go out, you could be done. I was like, holy crap, this is really serious. And I was taking it serious, and they were watching me. Every year I'd have tests done. So when he used that word, I was like, okay, this is crazy. I mean, this could be the end, of my career, and I would hate to have something. I wouldn't want to embarrass the guys by, the drummer just fell out. What happened? Okay, well.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to that point.
Let me ask you this. Since you mentioned catastrophic event, you've obviously heard about what happened to Richie Faulkner in Judas Priest, where his heart at a show, at a festival, basically just blew up. Did you read that and just go?
I read about that, and I also read about Sid from Boston, who was on a cruise doing, some, and some friends of mine were playing with him, and they said he just, went over, and that was it. He never, they never saw him again. And I was like, man, this can't happen. I mean, for one thing, music is very important to me, but my life, of course, and everybody listening, should take, precautions, and should look into stuff, because your life is the most important. Your family, all of that stuff, all those cliches that we talk about.
Yep.
But it's serious, and there's so many people that don't know, that it's happening. For instance, when we came together, and I met, I think it was Amy, from who is the wife of the actor. You'll have to help me with this. I'm sorry, I might have to edit this, but
yeah.
Pete,
John Peter's wife.
Yes.
John Peter's wife, Amy.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I just fogged up there.
No worries.
And she was just saying how horrible it was for him to just go out. And recently, my wife's brother had the same problem, where it was like the widowmaker. They call it the widowmaker, which you have no signs that anything. Your heart beats fine. He was exercising. He had ran marathons, and then suddenly he came out and he just hit the floor, and that was the end of it. He just never regained consciousness. So it's really important that everybody go get all of those tests done, that that check the thickness of the heart, the walls of the heart. And because my doctor, when he went to do my surgery, did an extra little thing where he just fixed a secondary heart valve, and made sure it was, and he put some rings on there. And it's really kind of complicated when you realize that the heart is just this really pretty amazing thing,
right?
And how it works in conjunction with the other two valves, and the blood flow. It's like a hydraulic system that works, and if anything fails on it, it causes everything else to fail too, you know. So
Pete mentioned the mental health part of this. And, when I had my two heart surgeries, especially since I was in my 30s, you start thinking, oh my God, is it going to end? Is this the... What was it like for you? You're not able to go play with the band. Dean Castronovo comes in. Do you look at that and just go, wow, my life is over? Like, did you have those moments of anguish and mental sort of torture where you just sort of went, what if it's this? What if my career, what if after all these years of being a Night Ranger, I'm just going to be the guy that's out of the band?
I did.
Did you have that?
I did have those feelings like, well, I mean, I've gotten almost, 35 good years, and, that was amazing that, that we were together that long, the three of us, Jack and Brad and myself, started the band together. And if this is it, I mean, I thank God I'm not going to go out on stage in a blaze of glory like that. I mean, so yeah, I did. I had those feelings, and they played about five shows. They had Fred Corey played shows, and then Dean came in, and then I came in with Dean playing, and I came out and sang when we did this big festival show in Dallas, and it was like 10,000 people there, and I was like, wow, I mean, if this ends, and I've been able to do a few more shows, and then say something else happens and my heart, it didn't really take or whatever, this could be great. This could be the way to go. Singing, Dean's up there, a very good friend of mine, and it's like playing better than me. I'm like, your son's, I'm going to kick you. I'm going to trip you going down the stairs after the show. He's such a good friend. So we joke like that all the time. But I mean, it was amazing to have him play, and then to regroup and have it come back. And I came back and I was playing, and Richie Russo, our drum tech, played some with me, played like 4 songs, and then I would, at first I would play, and then he would play, and I would sing it, and then we just worked back. We came in slowly, and it was incredible. I mean, I watched videos on YouTube of this guy 30 days out going to the gym and doing his whole lifting thing, and he wasn't in perfect shape, but he got back into his routine, and I said, I'm going to do that. That was such inspiration. I can't remember who it was, but it was just a video of this guy going back to the gym after the same heart surgery that Pete and I had, and maybe you did too. Did you have a valve replacement?
I did not have a valve replacement. Mine was a little less involved. I've had 2 ablations. I had a radio frequency ablation and a cryo ablation to correct a fibrillation. But I mean, it first manifested itself at the age of 29, and at 29, and excuse the language, but you're full of piss and vinegar, and all of a sudden you're not. Now you've got sort of an old man disease, and you're just like, oh, and it changes your outlook, because now you plan for the career and getting married and the family, and now you're like, is that going to happen? Is it, and because you don't know.
Yeah, you have no idea. I know.
And
how about you with Pete? How did it happen for you? I mean, was it like all of a sudden you couldn't breathe right, or was it like a checkup? How did that happen for you?
I went in for an annual physical, and my doctor asked me, have you ever been told you have a heart murmur before? When he listened to my heart, I said, since the age of 12, I've been told on and off that they've heard a murmur, but that they didn't think it was anything to worry about. And he said, well, I'd like to send you in for the echocardiogram, which is like a lady's ultrasound when they look at the baby. Same deal. Right. Very similar anyway. And so we did that, and he said, well, you have a bicuspid valve, like Kelly said he had earlier, bicuspid aortic valve, and you have a big aneurysm above that in your aorta, and that can pop, and then you're all done. So made arrangements to get that all fixed. I did also the watch and wait, because they measure things and they do the math and figure out what's more dangerous, letting you go on like this or doing the surgery. So once the scale tips a little, then you go in, and that's my story on how that happened. It was just a fluke.
Great.
I kind of jokingly said to myself, no wonder I was never the fastest runner in gym class. I had a bicuspid heart valve. I thought I just sucked at running, you know?
Yeah, and I don't know if you've both experienced this, but between my surgeries, I was paddled, 11 times. 11 times. So it's the propofol, it's the paddling, and you just mentally you're just like, I'm not as good, I'm not as this, I got to be careful, it could happen. You're like, the wife's like, let's go to Hawaii, and I'm like, well, what if it happens there? I can't afford American health care.
Terrible,
Yeah,
isn't it? Terrible.
yeah.
All those little mental issues and stories you tell yourself, but
Yeah.
they're valid. It's
Yeah.
like it's true.
And people don't understand because they don't see it. They
Yeah,
see you. They see you drumming, and they go, "Boy, he's drumming. What the hell?" They see Pete doing what Pete. They see me. They go, "There's nothing wrong with them." And then it hits, and you go, "Yeah, there is something wrong."
wow, wow, I know. Jeez. Well,
um,
great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this show up in, well, not being up in Fargo in February, but what the heck is going on? But you know what? We've always been like, our first tour manager said, look at, when we were playing clubs, play to the ones that come. And that
yep.
always stuck with me. It's like, you go where people want you to come and play. And I was like, that's it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be there. And for this cause, of course, it's a
Yeah.
very important. So.
Well, listen, Brett Michaels always say you play for the four people that are cheering in the crowd and not the other ones that are just sitting there. But while we're on there, let's talk about "And the Band Played On," because
Ooh, good album.
somewhere in California, High Road, Don't Let Up, the band played. You're on fire. I mean, you're supposed to be at the twilight of your career, putting out greatest hits and playing the same 15 songs every day, and yet one album, four albums in a row that had they been released in the 80s would be multi-platinum and everybody would be singing their praises. Talk to me about having that fire burn and not just laying on past glories.
I think that what it is that what you leave us alone and we get in trouble. It's like as soon as you have some like a producer or somebody to come in there and insert their opinions and stuff like that. When we started making those albums, we'd get in a room together and we started getting back to the jamming idea and realizing musically that we play so well together and that our ideas fit. So that's what we started doing on those last four albums. We started getting in a room together, and then we'd see what we'd get to the end of the weekend. We have like five songs, we'd be like, oh crap, this is really working, and so let's keep going with that. So that's what we did on all those albums, and
It's a great
then we
album.
would fit those parts together and really like start to analyze them and break them down and then maybe work on new parts, come back together in a couple of weeks, and it just worked. And with this album though, it was really complicated because it was during COVID, so we couldn't fly anywhere, we couldn't get in a room together. Brad was having surgery, so he couldn't, we were still doing one or two gigs a month, so we had to be careful about bringing COVID back to him. He had a fiance at the time that was fighting breast cancer, so she was isolated, and they were
Right.
just, so we could not get together. So we did everything by phone calls and did some
Some
Zoom calls
Zooms.
like this, and we got on there and we started to then share those ideas over the internet with Pro Tools, which we all have, and we built it up over 6 months with good chorus ideas and good riffs, and everybody took those parts home and just jammed with themselves. And at the end of the week, we'd get together and go, what do you think of that idea? Oh, that sucked. Throw that out. What do you, you know? So it wasn't personal. We tried to put together the best pieces of music that we could, and it just worked out. Jack, you know, took a lot of these ideas and lyrics, and and then he would get on phone calls like, I like that line, I don't like that line. He was really gracious about bringing me in on some of that stuff, and
Wow.
so we just put it together. And and at the end of it, we were like, kind of looking at it like from, separating ourselves from it, going, God, this album turned out pretty good, and you know, uh, there you go. It ended up being the band played on, even without being able to play together.
Yeah, and I'll say this for the band. First of all, Jack's voice, I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's hit a groove. And the fire started burning when you brought in Joel Hoekstra, and then Carrie Kelly came in.
Oh yeah.
And in between, by the way, you did the 35 Years and a Night in Chicago live album. And that to me is absolutely one of my favorite live albums because there is such an energy that burns through your speakers when you're listening to that. And I've got them on my Audio Technicas, and you hear that, and it's just like, man, this band's good. And of course, I've seen you, as you know, many times with Sammy Hagar and other places, and
Sure. I
you're
mean,
just better than you were. No offense to what you were, but you're just better now. You're
I
like a
mean,
fine wine.
I just feel like we grew up,
Yeah.
together, and we've gotten better with age. It's just, I don't know, and all the gigs we played, we always go out when we're an opener and say we have to show people that haven't seen us before, how we are, even if they don't know the songs. And that's always been kind of a thing with us. We go out and play on some of these 3-act shows, and people, like, half the audience wouldn't know.
Yeah.
They knew some of our songs, but had never seen us play before. So we have that kind of like hurdle that we had to get over. It's like,
Yeah.
we got to get over on these people, somehow. And so we've always kept that, and still to this day, we still play on some shows that people hadn't seen us before. And
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I'm over here in Montreal, and Night Ranger. It's been a long time since you've been to Montreal, if ever. So I first saw you at M3, and I had no idea. I mean, I know the songs, I knew the songs, I have the records, and then I saw your M3 performance, and I went, "Oh, oh, they're a machine." Okay. That was an eye opener because it's not just "Don't Tell Me You Love Me" on the FM channel. Now they're there, and you just go, "Right, okay, this is a band. This is the real deal." Um,
nice that you picked up on that. That's really great.
it really was. It was a shocking, or not a shocking, but it was a revealing moment that at M3 when I just saw you play, and I just went, "Yep, okay, this is why they're still around." And in terms of moving forward after you've done this show, is 2022 going to sort of be filled? Are we doing a lot of touring? Are we slowing it down,
We
taking a
are.
break, and thinking, okay, go ahead?
We're already booking. Our agent came out. We played in Nashville just recently, and Rod came out from CAA, who signed us originally and believed in us, from the very start 4 years ago. And before COVID, there were 2 tours. We were supposed to do Sammy Hagar and Whitesnake, and then the next year was supposed to be uh, REO and Styx. All those schedules, of course, have just since just gone away or scrambled or whatever. But he did tell us that he thought that Sammy and us were going to be a good pick for the 40th year. Of course, that was our first year we played with Sammy
Yeah.
on the Three Lock Box tour over the winter, and we thought that would be just great to play with Sammy. We did about 15 shows with him a few years ago before COVID, and we realized that we fit really well together, especially with the Circle, great band.
Yep.
And all the songs that they bring into it, the Van Halen stuff and Sammy's original solo stuff, and now their own albums. So we clicked with those guys. We clicked with Sammy again, and he just looked at us and said, "Yeah, we should do this for real." And so I think that's gonna happen. next
Yeah.
year. So that would be really great. 40th anniversary.
That would
Sammy.
be terrific. I saw a Sammy Night Ranger show in New Hampshire in, I guess, 2019, and it was just one of the better shows that year. It was just, it was just like 3 hours of top 40 radio hits. I mean,
Oh my God. I mean, their stuff too. I mean, you just stand up in there, your mouth's dropping because then they go into, you know, Right Now and the Van, you know, all the latter Van Halen stuff and the early stuff. You're just like, this is killer, man. This is great. This is where we belong,
yeah.
playing these big shows, you know.
Yeah, and I'll start wrapping up by saying this. It's nice to see the band when you go out there and play. You don't just drop an album and then go do a greatest hits set. You actually bring 4 or 5 songs of the new album in there, and they fit like a glove. They're not like, oh, there's the new one. They just go and you just go, wow, I don't remember that hit. When was that from? You go, oh, it's the new one. Oh,
Yeah, you know, that's kind of the point. We try and keep it in the same style.
yeah.
We did venture off on, you know, on an album and got more modern back in the 90s, you know, and you know that was fine. But you know, once we started getting in a room together and creating, realized that that's really the sound of the band, is what we do when we start jamming together and we start playing these riffs and grooves and stuff like that, and get those choruses, those big choruses, like, you know, like we love. So
Pete, do you want to remind the folks where the event is, what day it is, and how to get the tickets over at tickettailor.com?
Sure. Yeah, Rock from the Heart, sponsored by Essentia Health. We're doing it in Fargo this year, February 12th, Saturday night, Avalon Events Center. You can go to rockfromtheheart.org, and there's links to get tickets right there. We have tickets of all kinds left, and we're looking forward to seeing Night Ranger. My old band from the 80s, the Street Band, is opening for Night Ranger.
Very cool.
I'm bringing my new DWs to show you, Kelly. So
I love it. And that new Purple Heart snare drum that you.
Well, since it's winter, I'm leaving the Purple Heart at home and bringing a metal snare just to be safe.
Okay. Awesome.
And Carrie, thank you for doing this, and Kelly, I should say. I'm thinking Kelly. I look forward to hopefully seeing Night Ranger in Montreal at some point as well.
Thanks so much, man, for your time, and I appreciate it. And yeah, man, I can't wait till we get up there. You know, I think we came up to Montreal, did an MTV show. This is back in the 80s. They gave us a plaque that we, you know, it's like they gave us a, you know, like I think our album went gold up there or something.
Yeah.
We're like, how come we don't tour up there? We just don't do tours and, you know, up in Canada anymore. I'm not sure why, but anyway.
Hopefully, because there's a few of you, you know, REO Speedwagon, yourself, and a bunch of you, Ted Nugent. You sort of stay south, and it's like, come on, we like to rock. Bring it up here.
We did that one thing with Journey and Loverboy some years back, which was really great and successful too. But for some reason, you know, we haven't gone back. So
well, we're going to change that. We're going to change that. We got to get you up here. Folks need to experience, and the band played on live on Canadian soil, but also in Fargo, North Dakota in February. It'll be a fun gig.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, buddy.
Bring your mucklucks and your
Yes. Let's come up there in the wintertime. Why not, man?
Oh, it'll be great. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pete.
Take care.
See you, Pete. Bye, Kelly.
Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
All right, perfect. That was great. Thank you. Was that good for you, Pete?
Awesome.
Bye, Kelly.